They thought we were primitive, predictable, fragile. They studied our wars, dissected our history, scanned every satellite transmission and battlefield recording we had ever produced, and they laughed. To the overlords, humanity was a species of chaos, incapable of unity, addicted to conflict, technologically inferior, and strategically navar. They dismissed our tactics. They never saw the ambush coming. What follows is the story of how Earth, outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched, did the unthinkable. We didn't overpower them. We outflanked their dominion. The day the sky fractured, it began with a fracture in the sky. No explosions. No thunderous invasion fleets raining fire. Just a silent, shimmering distortion stretching across the upper atmosphere like a tear in reality itself. Every telescope on Earth turned upward. Every government scrambled. Within hours, the distortion crystallized into geometry. Perfect, symmetrical, deliberate. Then came the message. It was not broadcast in sound or light, but directly into every communication system simultaneously. Every screen, every frequency, every encrypted network. A single symbol appeared first, circular, rotating slowly. Beneath it, translated into every human language in real time, were 7 words. Your era of self-rule has concluded. They called themselves the Dominion. We called them the Overlords. The psychological strike, the first strike, wasn't physical. It was psychological. They projected holographic constructs into the skies above major cities. Colossal, godlike figures towering over New York, Beijing, Delhi, Lagos, Sao Paulo, London. These projections spoke calmly, almost gently. We are not your destroyers, they said. We are your correction. Within hours, our satellites were disabled. Not destroyed, but frozen mid-orbit, locked in stasis fields we couldn't comprehend. Military drones fell from the sky. Nuclear arsenals were rendered inert. Aircraft carriers stalled in oceans, their systems unresponsive. They demonstrated power without bloodshed. And that was the brilliance of it. They wanted submission, not annihilation. Global leaders convened emergency summits. But it was clear, our weapons were meaningless. They had neutralized our strongest deterrents in less than a minute. Panic spread. Markets collapsed. Cities rioted. The overlords had read our history. They knew fear was our greatest weakness, or so they thought. The assessment: the Dominion didn't rush conquest. They observed. Massive orbital structures assembled above Earth, sleek. Obsidian constructs forming a ring network around the planet. They were not warships in the traditional sense. They were infrastructure. Control nodes. Within weeks, energy grids across the world were replaced by alien conduits. More efficient, self-repairing, limitless. Food shortages vanished under precision climate stabilization systems. Disease rates plummeted as atmospheric purification fields activated. They solved our greatest problems effortlessly. It was strategic. The Dominion's message became clear: we are better rulers than you. Some humans agreed. And that was their second mistake. The dismissal of human tactics. We later learned through intercepted transmissions that the Dominion had conducted a full tactical analysis of human warfare spanning 10,000 years. From ancient spear formations to cyber warfare. From guerrilla insurgencies to nuclear brinkmanship. Their conclusion: human strategy was reactive, emotional, fragmented. They categorized our tactics into predictable models: escalation, retaliation, territorial defense, resource denial, attrition. They prepared counters for all of them. They never accounted for deception at a civilizational scale. Because in their vast interstellar history, they had never encountered a species that weaponized unpredictability the way humans did, not just in battle, but in culture, politics, art, and ideology. They believed they understood us. They were wrong. The quiet resistance, the resistance did not begin with soldiers. It began with teachers, engineers, farmers, coders, psychologists. While governments negotiated compliance terms, something subtler unfolded beneath the surface. A global network formed, not through official channels, but through human instinct. Encrypted forums, analog radio signals, handwritten letters. The overlords had mastered digital control. So we went analog. Old satellites thought to be defunct were secretly reactivated through manual override. Fiber lines bypassed alien energy conduits. Mechanical devices replaced smart systems. We regressed deliberately. They saw it as harmless nostalgia. In truth, it was camouflage. Operation Mirrorfall. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source. A coalition of astrophysicists and game theorists analyzing Dominion energy signatures. The overlords relied on a planetary synchronization grid, each orbital structure linked to the others in perfect harmonic resonance. It was elegant, efficient, and fragile. Not physically fragile, but mathematically. Human mathematicians identified micro variations in the resonance pattern. Imperceptible inconsistencies caused by Earth's chaotic electromagnetic fluctuations, solar storms, underground magma shifts, even human electrical noise. The Dominion systems compensated flawlessly. But compensation required prediction, and prediction required models. We fed them corrupted models. Operation Mirrorfall was born. Across the globe, coordinated disruptions were initiated. Millions of tiny electromagnetic fluctuations triggered simultaneously by improvised devices, homemade pulse generators, modified generators, even synchronized city-wide power surges, individually insignificant, collectively catastrophic. The Dominion grid recalibrated continuously, but the recalibration cycles began overlapping. Harmonic precision degraded by 0.001%, then 0.1%. Then 1%. To them it was statistical noise. To us, it was the crack in the armor. The human advantage, the overlords had superior technology. But they had something else too: stability. Their civilization had achieved equilibrium thousands of years prior. No wars, no revolutions, no ideological schisms. Efficiency had replaced chaos. They saw chaos as weakness. Humanity thrived on it. Our history was messy, violent, contradictory, but it had forged adaptability. We were not unified by obedience. We were unified by survival. The resistance didn't function like an army. It functioned like a virus. Decentralized, mutating, unpredictable. Every city became its own tactical experiment. Every culture contributed unique disruption methods. Tribal communities in the Amazon sabotaged alien atmospheric processors using botanical compounds. Urban hackers in Seoul reverse engineered alien signal fragments. Desert engineers in North Africa built analog relay towers hidden beneath dunes. No central command. No single point of failure. The Dominion kept searching for a leader. There wasn't one. The overlords strike back. When the harmonic instability reached 3% deviation, the Dominion responded. Orbital structures emitted focused gravitational pulses. Entire regions experienced temporary time dilation, seconds stretching into minutes. Resistance cells were frozen mid-action. They arrested thousands using containment fields. They broadcast a warning. Your interference is statistically irrational. Cease immediately. The psychological pressure intensified. Collaborator governments emerged, arguing that resistance threatened the peace the Dominion had provided. Humanity fractured. Civil conflict erupted. And that was the moment the overlords believed they had won. They misunderstood something fundamental. Conflict was not the end of resistance. It was its fuel. The decoy war, while public resistance clashed with Dominion enforcers, the real strategy remained hidden. A group of quantum engineers discovered that the Dominion's control nodes were not independent. They were synchronized to a central core, located beyond Earth's orbit, hidden within a cloaked megastructure on the far side of the moon. The Overlords had built their dominion like a spider web. We decided to burn the spider's heart, but we couldn't reach it directly, so we created a decoy war. Human militaries staged an overt uprising. Conventional attacks targeted orbital structures with repurposed missiles and retrofitted spacecraft. It looked desperate, reckless. The Dominion deployed significant defensive resources to crush it, which is exactly what we wanted. Because while their focus locked onto visible aggression, something else was happening. The Trojan transmission months earlier, during initial negotiations, human linguists had requested access to Dominion communication syntax for cultural exchange. The Overlords agreed, confident in their encryption. They underestimated human obsession with language. Hidden within thousands of harmless translation queries was a recursive logic seed, a linguistic paradox disguised as semantic curiosity. The seed was designed not to crash systems, but to question them. When the decoy war triggered maximum defensive mode, Dominion systems opened elevated communication channels to synchronize response protocols. The logic seed activated. It began rewriting minor decision trees, not enough to trigger alarms, but enough to introduce ambiguity into command hierarchies. Orders required verification. Verifications required cross-referencing. Cross-references generated loops. For the first time in their history, the Dominion experienced internal contradiction. It was microscopic, but it spread. The lunar assault, using stolen launch windows and retrofitted propulsion systems hidden inside commercial cargo rockets, a coalition of astronauts, engineers, and volunteers executed the most dangerous mission in human history. They weren't soldiers. They were mechanics, coders, farmers, former rivals from nations that had once threatened nuclear war against each other. Now united, the lunar far side was cloaked, but Mirrorfall's harmonic disruptions had already weakened concealment fields. They found it. A structure the size of a continent, sleek, black, pulsing with blue, white energy. The core, they couldn't destroy it conventionally, so they did something more audacious. They synchronized with it. Human neural interface experiments, once controversial and abandoned, were resurrected. Volunteers linked their minds into a shared quantum feedback loop connected to the core. The Dominion operated on perfect logic. Humans introduced emotion, memory, contradiction, hope, fear, love. The interface flooded the core with human experiential data, millennia of art, music, conflict, forgiveness, irrational sacrifice. The Dominion had studied our tactics. They had never studied our soul. The harmonic grid destabilized further. 7%, 10%, 15%. Orbital structures flickered. Containment fields failed. Gravitational pulses ceased. The moment of collapse on Earth, the sky shimmered again, but this time in reverse. The perfect geometric symmetry fractured. One by one, Dominion structures powered down. The Overlords transmitted a final message. Your behavioral variables exceed predictive containment. It wasn't surrender, it was recalculation. Their fleets withdrew beyond the outer system. The lunar core dimmed, but did not explode. They disengaged. They had lost control of the Dominion, and they could not risk losing more. Aftermath, the reckoning Earth stood free, but not unchanged. The resistance had exposed both humanity's brilliance and its divisions. Collaborators faced trial. Former enemies became architects of reconstruction. The alien infrastructure left behind was studied carefully, never fully trusted. We had proven something unprecedented. We didn't win through superior firepower. We won through strategic audacity, decentralized intelligence, psychological warfare, mathematical precision. and emotional unpredictability. The Overlords dismissed human tactics. They assumed war was about dominance. We proved it was about adaptation. The final realization years later, deep space telescopes detected something unexpected. The Dominion hadn't retreated to regroup. They were observing, studying, not with arrogance, but with caution. We had become the anomaly, the unpredictable variable, the species that could not be contained. And somewhere beyond the stars, the Overlords were rewriting their own models. Because for the first time in their long, controlled history, they had encountered chaos that could not be conquered. Why this story matters: this isn't just a tale of alien invasion and interstellar warfare. It's a reminder of the unstoppable power of human resilience. When underestimated, dismissed, or cornered, humanity does not collapse. We innovate. We outflank. The greatest strength we possess isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our capacity to think differently, to defy prediction, to turn weakness into strategy. If this story ignited your imagination, if you believe humanity's greatest weapon is its relentless spirit, if you crave more epic sci-fi stories about survival, rebellion, and strategic brilliance, subscribe now. Join this growing community of thinkers, dreamers, and warriors of imagination. Comment below. What would you have done against the Overlords? Share this story with someone who believes humans are stronger than they appear, because the next Dominion that rises might already be watching. And history proves one thing beyond doubt: never dismiss human tactics.